if we think in a profile for an educational broker, we should think in terms of a minimum of skills that we need to fulfill.
I'd love to have you go further, and where do you think GSoLEN should be operating?
In the first case, if GSoLEN could give different people building capacity skills for educational brokering, we should think about different skills such as, for example, we need people that could develop expert negotiation and interpersonal skills, communication skills, teaching skills, analytical skills, and also trend to adaptation to new technologies. Of course, to develop networks, to be reliable and honest, to know about time management, to be accurate and attentive to details, to develop planning skills. And of course, we need people that could be updated on educational trends in different continents and regions. And that is probably the most difficult task to develop, because this is dynamic. So the norms and educational practices in different countries and in different continents are very variable and are changing dynamically in the context of financial crisis and even the pandemic still in our countries. And it's important to have the consideration of avoiding any kind of biases. The northern biases over the south ones, or vice versa, of course, is the same. For example, in Latin America, there are schools of education that probably will reject many of the behavioral approaches that the northern can propose in some countries. So that could be a strong limitation for working with people in Latin America. And so the broker needs to understand that. That means that among the teachers of such a program, we should guarantee the participation of these different kind of educators with different theories and policy making trends in these continents. When we think about an educational broker, we should think about not only the skills, but also the transformative plans for different places that these kind of roles could make or could develop. So, for example, an educational broker with similar skills with another will play different roles in Manhattan and in Buenos Aires. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the contextualization of the plans are very important, and any educational broker should adapt their skills to these different contexts. But I tend to think that any kind of program of building capacity for develop educational brokers or identifying people with these skills should include a minimum list of skills that are necessary. So, and if you ask me what are the main 5 skills that we need to think about, are updated on educational trends to avoid biases, diplomacy skills, that means communication, negotiation, even teaching skills or analytical skills, time management, because you know that in education, time is very important to consider, because, and planning skills. Prof. Tinbergen, an economist Nobel laureate in the 50s. So he developed a theory of planning. So we need to give an educational broker an idea of what planning means in terms of a professional task. So I tend to think, in summary, that any effort to develop this role should consider the building capacities in terms of making a professional. And finally, maybe, Bob, maybe we should discuss a little bit about if it is possible to develop persons, or we should think in develop teams of educational brokers.
Well, thank you. That was where I was going next, is particularly for an organization like GSoLEN, should it be trying to develop a specific cadre or group, or is it developing the skills and then encouraging people who are already involved in some forms of knowledge brokering to take advantage of this?
Both are possible. In any kind of educational approach we would like to take means complexity. And complexity is not only about having people from different disciplines discussing and arriving to consensus. Once we arrive to a consensus, we need to discuss ethically and deeply the policy implications of the discussions or the consensus. So we need to convert the consensus in actions, and that is complex. So can one person make this this kind of actions? I am not sure about that. I tend to think in that educational brokering means at least a team of people with maybe we can think in a sort of distribute skills, and in this sense we can think in the second option that you mentioned. So we can look for people with different skills inside GSoLEN and try to build different educational brokering teams for different regions or contexts. And we can organize inside GSoLEN meetings of these teams to discuss, to co-building capacity, to interact, to build the capacities of educational brokering through feedback. And even these teams could have different plans at the same time in different places. So we can make a network of educational brokering teams.
How do we get their attention, Sebastian? Get them involved?
That means taking into consideration two words, two aspects: motivation and incentives. So incentives could be material or non-material. Maybe we can make a sort of market of incentives inside the network. So we need to define the markets, the goods in this market. And then is motivation and motivation. So we need to explore the motivations in the network. And then once you have motivated people with the specific definition of their motivations and what kind of incentives they are looking for, then based on that two pieces of information, we can invite some people by selecting them in base of this criteria to create a team in the region where they are living of educational brokering for 1 year. I should say that we would think in such a creation of teams in the presence of people from different generations. That is very important because each generation has a different piece of information that we need to take in consideration.
Let me ask, since one person suggested looking at where there are already examples of knowledge brokering taking effect, even if that's not what it's called. So my question is, are you aware of any examples that we could be looking at? And also, how do you feel about that approach?
I have to think about people, but I have examples of people that I call them doers.
Yes, sir.
That means people in my field, in science, that were able to sustain through decades, at least 2 decades, their work, interacting with policymakers, other researchers, community, and they have many skills that were developed incidentally during their achievements. The doers are people that are familiar with the white and black aspects of the tasks. So in the middle of this way, I have to form the new generation of researchers. So I have to give them ideas and skills to replicate what is needed to replicate to go on in 10, 20, or 30 years.
I love the term doers. Another person refers to moving to action in much the same way. Instead of simply talking about moving from research to translation, but that doesn't implement.
Exactly. Implement an educational broker team should devote their main effort is implementation. And the guarantee of the implementation continuity. That is very difficult anywhere.
So at this period in our world, and particularly in your country, do you see a special set of circumstances because of COVID, because of other factors that can speed up, that can accelerate this process that we're talking about? Are there additional incentives for people to become knowledge brokers?
I'm not sure. I think that it should be better to think about teams of brokers inside GSoLEN, because this will give the network its own identity. So, and that is important. And brokering is not about universal, it's about specificity in different places.
Is there anyone else that I should be contacting to get their thoughts on knowledge brokering, or who may have some background in it?
Yeah. The name of this class of people is older doers. even people above 75 years old. One is my Posner. My Posner from he's now retired, absolutely retired. This year he finished his last grant. My Posner is one in neuroscience and psychology. The other is Michael Gazzaniga. Michael Gazzaniga and John Brewer. Michael Gazzaniga is one of the fathers of cognitive neuroscience. Gazzaniga he's still active. Not he's retired, but I interacted with him last week. He make a lot of educational projects. We should be careful about be cautious of having this sort of old people assembly, like in the tribes, because this is they will balance any kind of our ideas that could be biased. We should find more people like this in other countries.
Yes.
Considering the potential biases, but the chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Marcelo Suarez Orozco, he's in Boston. And he's also a member of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences. So he has a lot of connections everywhere. He is a broker. Actually, he is my example of educational broker.
Sebastián, once again, this has been incredible. You provided me great insight. I really appreciate it.
I hope. Thank you. Take care. Very nice. Very, very nice to meet you again.
Good to see you. Have a good day.
Bye. Same for you. Bye.